Amiga Forsyth reporting in. Today I will be doing a more chill stream where I will be talking about all the books that I have read from, oh my gosh, July to October. So I have not been able to do a reading wrap up in a while, so it is long overdue for that. Before I continue, let me just do a quick little sound check. Just give me a few seconds. Thank you. Okay, I am back. I did some adjusting with my mic and I lowered the BGM a little bit because it did seem a little bit loud. So hopefully that sounds a little bit better and my voice comes out a little bit more clearly. Wait, actually let me just move my mic a little bit more. Okay, that seems good, I think. How is everyone doing today? I am doing quite well. Trying to keep hydrated with my water and jasmine tea here. And let me put up the first book that I will be talking about, which is Tell Me How to Be by Neill Patel. And without further ado, I will begin talking about it. So, Tell Me How to Be is a book about Akash and his complicated relationship with himself and his family. The story is told from both Akash's point of view and also his mother's, Reinu's, as well. I love the incorporation of music that corresponds with the vibe and always has some sort of relation to what is currently happening in each chapter. At first I thought Akash's POV was my favorite of the two, but as the story continued, I ended up enjoying both Akash and Reinu's perspectives for the rest of the book. I won't go into too much because it'll be going into spoiler territory, but this has to be one of the best, if not the best book, in my opinion, that depicts such a heartfelt and positive relationship between a father and son. The book also tackles topics that some readers who also come from immigrant families and who live in the US experience, such as oh my goodness, jeez, the immigrant family and the private opinions and viewpoints Akash views other immigrant families who live in the small town he grew up in. Being gay in a small town, the bullying, isolation, and the mental and physical alienation of wanting to be accepted and loved for just being who you are, and with different types of people, both familial, within friendships, and through a school setting as well. The relationships of everyone in Akash's family. The culmination of Akash and Reinu's, let me repeat that again. Let me start over again, the culmination of Akash and Reinu's life experiences, the interpersonal relationships they have with family and with friends and strangers as well, and topics regarding social and class standing and racism and the many facets of personal identity. I love the progression of Akash's relationships with all the main characters, and it's interesting to see how it develops. The writing style is incredibly beautiful and poignant. There were times I felt like I was watching a movie in my eyes with how the author describes the way, for example, the sky looks at various points in the story. And it just cannot be described as anything other than downright gorgeous. Of course, a lot of the time, I cried my eyes out at certain points in the story that were both heartbreaking and so sad, and even happy, joyous tears too. Recommendations, if you want a similar vibe to Tell Me How to Be, would be Flux by Jinu Chung and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean I don't want to butcher his last name, by Ocean Vuong. For this book, Tell Me How to Be, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the next one is a bit of a doozy. So this next book I will be going into spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled by what I'm about to talk about, this is a pretty in-depth sort of analysis, sort of review for the next book. So yeah, let me put away Tell Me How to Be and bring up the next book. So the second book I read, I think this was in October? Not October, oh my gosh, this was in, dang it, I closed it. Let me bring it up again. My story graph, let's see. Oh, okay, I did also read this in July as well. Okay, let me grab that. X out of this that I forgot to X out of. Okay. But yeah, if you do not want to be spoiled by anything, I am going to talk pretty deeply about this book and my opinions about it. Also, just as a preface, this is not meant to slander or say anything negative about the author at all. This review is specifically for readers, so please do not, anybody who could be associated with the author, please do not go after me for this. This is just my personal opinion. And if you enjoy, and also for big fans of this book, this is just my personal opinion, and that is it. This is just my personal opinion for other readers on how I think of this book. So yeah, if you understand that, thank you, and I will continue on with my in-depth review for this book, which is Fragile Angels by Genevieve Jagger. So Fragile Animals. Fragile Animals is a book about a young woman named Noelle who heads to the Isle of Butte for a week-long retreat. There we meet a small collection of characters, from the host of the house she stays in, a supposed vampire named Moses, and notable people throughout her life back home in, oh my gosh, is it Glasgow? Glasgow. Oh my gosh, wait. Let me make sure I pronounce. Okay, awesome. I did say it right. Whew, I was a little bit paranoid there. Okay. And I will continue. We slowly unravel why she decided to take this retreat in the first place, and we get an intimate picture of what made her the person she is through flashbacks to her strained relationship with her mother, the ongoing guilt that follows her even presently from her religious upbringing and repression, and finally, slow acceptance of her queer identity. Although I feel it seems very clear that she is, at least in my opinion, a heavily closeted lesbian. I thought it was very clear for Moses to be a sort of living confessional for Noelle. The author showcasing him in this fashion, a conduit of sorts for Noelle to freely tell her darkest secrets and thoughts, is probably one of my favorite character studies I've read. Their relationship is certainly very interesting. It's odd that the description makes it seem like the relationship is that of a romance or romantic one, but it feels much more complex than that. While there are certainly intimate moments between the two of them, it feels kind of misleading for the description to say they have a sexual relationship with each other when that doesn't even happen until the climax of the story, and it also happens near the end of the book too. The topic of Moses being a vampire is also treated as more of an afterthought than being a huge focus of his character, which is funny thinking about now that I finished the book and have digested it. We are also not exactly sure if he's really a vampire even then. On another hand, I suppose he really could be a human freak who just likes consuming blood and is also a taxidermist. The narrator does a good job of portraying Noelle's voice in an effective, bratty way. Oh, I should credit who the narrator is since I listened to the audiobook. So, the audiobook... Let's see. Okay. Isabel Wood is the narrator of the audiobook. Yeah. She has a very, youthful voice, so it fits the voice of Noelle very well. The story is pretty plotless, although I will admit that made the dramatic parts of the book even more impactful. The prose is beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oops. The prose is beautiful and almost lyrical, but that was mainly what the book was. Flowery words to cover up the lack of plot. At this point of my reading experience, I need much more than pretty prose for a book to mean something to me. Noelle is, and lack of a better term, Noelle is an incredible mess of a character. She is very flawed and imperfect. If I want to be impartial to her character, and if I were to be biased and honest, she genuinely seems to be an awful person. It's a good thing that her immediate family and her best friend make up her support system, as they barely appear in the story, mostly through flashbacks, as she decides to run away from her problems to take a retreat in the Isle of Butte. Oh, and also not contacting them and letting them know where exactly she is too. We get to see exactly why she acts the way she does, as she is a person who is very self-destructive to herself, is through her mother. The flashbacks mostly center on Noelle's complicated relationship with her. I was looking through reviews after I finished the book, and while I can understand that the book does feel sensual at times, both in uncomfortable and genuinely sultry ways, I can't really wrap my head around the story being overall described as sexy. The religious guilt present throughout the whole book is also interesting to read through. I do not need to relate to a character to enjoy them, but this concept really baffles me and makes me scratch my head. At least in this book, it is portrayed in a trite and almost poor, laughable way to showcase why Noelle is the way she is present day. The real MVP of this story is the Inn/Airbnb host whose name I can't remember, sadly, off the top of my head, who takes such good care of Noelle throughout her time on the Isle of Butte. Spoiler alert warning, I'm disappointed by how Noelle leaves without even saying thank you or giving a proper goodbye to her when she goes back home at the end of the book. The queer elements in the book are more on the subject of a story of a heavily closeted lesbian who is still experiencing the fallout of religious guilt and developing major mommy issues. I do think my favorite part is seeing the equally complicated relationship Noelle has with her male best friend Lord. This relationship, while not nearly as messy as what Noelle and I messed up and I gave I do have it. this relationship, while not nearly as messy as what Noelle and Lomi have, strangely reminds me of the relationship I have with one of my close friends. Outside of her family, he is probably one of the few positive influences in her life. In terms of the situationship Noelle gets with another young woman named Lomi, putting it briefly, I would describe it as two messy, horrible women having their worlds collide, and the collapse of that relationship is like seeing a supernova star die in real time. There are certainly some things I like about this book, and a lot of things I dislike as well. I feel if you're someone who has experienced or is still experiencing religious guilt and are a queer person, this may be a book you may enjoy. I give Fragile Animals 3 stars. Okay, and the next book is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This is a thriller about a young mother who is searching for her baby who seemingly had disappeared overnight. I don't remember too much about this book, if I have to be honest, which makes sense because it was not a very memorable book in my opinion. Excuse me. Just had to take another sip of water. Where was I already had a feeling that domestic thrillers aren't really my thing, and I was right since I have a pretty good grasp of what I like most of the time. Weirdly enough, I found the afterword at the end of the book from the author was the most interesting part of the book. Reading that and reflecting on the way she depicts postpartum depression for mothers makes a lot of sense. In the end, my final rating for this book is 3.25 out of 5 stars. Alrighty, next book is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. We Used to Live Here is a horror book about two home renovators who are in the middle of working on a house to then put on the market to sell. A man who claims his family used to live in... let me start over again. A man who claims his family used to live in this house suddenly comes over and asks if it's alright for him and his family to step inside and look around the house. The main character Eve is a nervous pushover who lets them inside while also hoping for her girlfriend Charlie to come back home soon. Things go downhill from here. Things go downhill from there. Also, a little side note. I remember seeing like a lot of reviews saying that it was just super annoying about how Eve was such a pushover. As someone who used to be a really bad pushover myself, I feel like it's important to like put yourself in other people's shoes. I think there was some like backstory or mention of why she's possibly a pushover, so I just feel like people should, I mean she's not real, but like I feel like people should be more understanding of how some characters are, because I feel like sometimes, not all the time of course, but it kind of reflects how you view and treat people who actually are like that in real life. So let's have a little bit more kindness and understanding in our hearts when reading about people who may have different personalities or countenances from us. Anyway, let me continue. First half of the book was good, while the second half was not so much. Let me focus on the positives first. The best thing about this book were the scares. They were really, really well done, and I have not felt genuinely scared from reading a horror book in a long while. I feel getting scared from horror books in general in general, honestly, is really hard to pull off, and the author did an excellent job of achieving that in such a brilliant and unsettling way. The other thing I was surprisingly pleased with was the relationship between Eve and Charlie. I usually am pretty cautious and wary when male authors handle a romantic relationship between two women, so I was pleasantly surprised it did not feel weird or fetishizing in any way. It honestly felt like a pretty realistic depiction of a queer romantic relationship between two women. Now, I will go on to the negatives. While there didn't seem to be anything that was overtly harmful of the mental institute section of the book, it still rubbed me the wrong way. You can definitely tell from this part of the story that this was originally a horror story that was written on Reddit. I really believe we're at the point within horror storytelling and writing where we need to move past harmful and stereotypical depictions of oh my goodness, I misread that. Let me start over. I really believe we're at the point within horror storytelling and writing where we need to move past harmful and stereotypical depictions of characters who have mental illnesses. Thankfully, there didn't seem to be anything that felt overly harmful in this part of the story, but it is such a tired subject and scenario to depict in horror stories, in my honest opinion, at the same time. I am cautiously optimistic about the movie adaptation of We Used to Live Here, especially since the scares that are present in the book are so incredibly good, and it can only get better being transferred to a visual medium such as film in this case. I actually read this book in just one day. I sped through this book super fast. I feel like in general, mostly in like the first half of the book, the pacing was just amazing. And even though I felt a little more meh about the second half, the pacing was still pretty good for the most part. But yeah, my final rating for We Used to Live Here is 3.5 out of 5 stars. Let me move on to the next book. Okay, there we go. Oh, give me a few seconds. Alrighty, I am back. Okay. Actually, when did I read these books? So I read Tell Me How to Be I finished it July 7th. Fragile Animals was on July 30th. All the Dangerous Things was finished at July 31st. Oh my gosh, sorry. Oof. We Used to Live Here, August 23rd. Oh, and now the next book. Excuse me for a few seconds. Okay. we go. Oh, wait, I need to put up the book. Alright, there we go. Okay, the next book is Ryoko Kui's Dungeon Machine, or Delicious in Dungeon, translated in the title in English. And I think I read this in September. Yeah, I finished it September 10th. Okay. I've had this manga on my radar for a while now, and I've almost always heard only positive, raving reviews for this manga series. This manga series definitely deserves its hype, as it was such a treat to dive into. I really enjoyed the unique way of having food and drink being the centerpiece in a D&D inspired story. I think what made it personally really fun for me was translating the ingredients for the yummy food shown into stuff I could actually use for a recipe adaptation. I am really excited to see how the story unfolds and the plot thickens, and how the plot will thicken while still having the focus being on meals created by the various main characters in each chapter. And I gave this book 5 stars. Let's see. The next book is... Yeah. It is... Wait, no, I didn't put it away. Let me put that away. There we go. The next book I read is Safe and Sound in the Arms of an Elite Knight, written by Fuyu Aoki, illustrated. I'm reading the manga edition, so the illustrator. Where's the illustrator? Illustrated by Yuyu Kohara and translated by Dawson Chun. I believe this was originally written as a light novel first, and the edition I'm reading here is the manga adaptation. Both the original light novel and manga was worked on by the same translator, Dawson Chun. The story is about a young noblewoman named Chloe Ardon, who was born with an unusual birthmark located on her back. Where she lives, birthmarks are considered to be extremely unlucky, to the point where a cursed child is said to bring misfortune to a family. This paranoia causes her mother to belittle and abuse her constantly, treating her more like a live-in maid than family. The only positive relationship she has is with the actual maid. But even that small solace comes to an end when the maid announces she needs to head back to the capital to care for a sick relative. Jeez. Let me just read that again. Oh my gosh. But even that small solace comes to an end when the maid announces she needs to head back to the capital to care for a sick relative. Chloe makes a decision to run away from her home when her mother has a meltdown and threatens her life at knife point. Chloe makes her way to the capital with the singular goal of reuniting with her maid. When things start to get dangerous for her, she is rescued by a knight. The story felt pretty generic from start to finish for me. The superstition of cursed children because of birthmarks is an interesting concept, but it wasn't really expanded upon in the first volume, which I felt is kind of a wasted opportunity the author could have utilized to have us more interested in Chloe. This light novel feels like it'll be a fantasy, but there hasn't been any explicit magic shown in the story either, or really like fantasy elements for the most part. It feels like a fairy tale kind of story with the major inspiration taken from Cinderella especially. Even the knight character, while not actually belonging to a royal family, feels pretty prince-like with his personality and mannerisms. I enjoyed it because it was pretty lighthearted and fluffy, aside from the constant hardships Chloe experiences in her day-to-day life in her family home, which I felt was a pretty good balance of the frankly hopeless and dark atmosphere of the beginning of the manga. I did enjoy the book, but I'm not really motivated to continue the series anytime soon, since I have a lot of other let me start over. I did enjoy the book, but I'm not really motivated to continue the series anytime soon, since I have a lot of other things I'm planning on reading for future video projects at this point in time. My final rating for this book is a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And let's get the last book. first book being Dungeon Meshi Volume 2. I enjoyed the first volume of Dungeon Meshi so much I had to read the second volume. The story does get very interesting once Laios and his friends what the heck? Once Laios and his friends encounter the magic portraits in one of the chapters for this volume. We meet a short elf that constantly appears throughout the story the portraits seem to follow. It seems to depict two generations of a royal family from the past. The vibe in that chapter felt very different from the rest of the series so far. It felt almost like whiplash, but I liked the underlying unsettling, almost creepy feeling in that chapter. It felt a bit dark, and it would be interesting to dive into future chapters that share a similar vibe to this one later on. I'm very curious on who this character is, and I can tell from even their short appearance in this chapter that they will be an important and significant character later on in the story. My favorite main character so far is Chilchuck. I'm not sure why I like him so much. I really love his character design, and even though he can be snappy and a little mean, I can tell he cares about everyone in the group a lot. It'll be fun to learn more about the main cast, since all of them stand out in their own unique way, and to find out about their backstories eventually. The only reason I rated this 4.75 out of 5 stars is because I wanted to see more food parts in the volume. And if you know, one of my favorite things about reading in books is I just really like learning about what characters like to eat and drink. So it wasn't that, it was a little bit less than volume 1, so that's the only reason why I docked a little bit of some. It would have been a 5-star if not for that. So I docked a few points because of that, but other than that, I think this volume was pretty much perfect. And yeah, I already said it, but I'll just say it again just for nice closure. My final rating for Dungeon Meshi Volume 2 is 4.75 out of 5 stars. And that is it for reading, at least. Let me go into my chatting room. Oops, whoopsies. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. The right room. We're not starting the stream again. Oh my gosh. I was trying to think of a time traveling pun, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But yeah, that is all of the books that I read throughout July to October. And I did finish a book a few days ago, which was one of my most anticipated reads, which is Mask of Flies by Matthew Lyons, but I will review that after November is over. So yeah, you could hear my more in-depth review of that in December, hopefully. Hopefully I read a few more books before then as well. I have a lot of stuff that I borrow from my local library, so I need to hop to that. But I've been feeling a little bit lazy and I've been procrastinating a bit of my reading, but oh well. I'll just take my time. Oh, let me mute for a sec. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. The dog is still barking. Excuse me. the neighbor's dog start barking. Hopefully. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to talk about before I end this stream? Because I thought it would go about an hour, which was my end goal, but it's only been 43 minutes, so I will chat a little bit before I end it there. I'm trying to think if anything interesting happened in real life. Let's see. Well, my mom and my brother went grocery shopping, and I got some more of the mocktail sort of version of the gator wine that I made for myself. So I'm pretty excited to drink that again. Although I did get sugar-free, my brother got the sugar-free cold brew version. So hopefully that still tastes good. But yeah, we will see about that. I have just been trying to work on some more non-stream related projects in the meanwhile. But thankfully I am going to take advantage of like the Black Friday and Cyber Monday, especially Cyber Monday deals, because there are a few things I need to get for a future video series project that I kind of want to start working on. Hopefully very soonish, but I'm not sure. I'm really excited to start it, because it centers around one of my favorite interests. I'm trying not to say too much about it because I kind of want it to be a surprise whenever I do make like the first video for that series. So I'm just kind of like saving up and trying to see what deals I can get for the equipment that I'm trying to get. I want to try to do more film, nothing like just like homemade like films for like videos and stuff. Nothing too exciting for that, but that video series is very exciting that I hope to work on very soon. I do have like a deal at like my local Best Buy. There's like a really close Best Buy that is like by me. Oh my gosh, I could have worded that better. Oh well. But it's like very close by to where I live, and I think I might be able to get one of the pieces of equipment that oh my gosh, sorry. I've had my eye on for the last couple of days. Since this video idea popped into my head. Video project series. Oh my god. Is it vlog related? I guess it could be sort of vlog related, but it makes it seem a little less serious if I do call it vlog related. But yeah, we will see. I'll probably remove that the vlog term. So I'm going to think of buying that tonight, since there's only one of that thing left. Let me check. I hope it's still there. I should probably buy it because there's only one left at my store, so I should probably get it really soon. Probably after the stream ends, I will just quickly make my purchase for that. For that, I think it made me like feel very reflective, making that plan to actually do that video series, because it made me think of like why I wanted to start VTubing, which makes me feel sort of nostalgic, because I started like roughly around late October, early November of 2022. So I've been doing this for like on and off since 2002 to 2002, no, 2022. Like, I would think, like, I wouldn't be able, would it be possible for me to be like a booktuber? And I was like, I feel like I wouldn't know what to do for that, but that's like kind of one of my goals, is to be like a booktuber VTuber. So I'm very happy that since becoming a VTuber, I can like be more creative of some things that I just want to put out into the world. But it's like taking the frustrating part is that all of the like bigger projects take so much time to do because I have to work basically my free time for that, and I work full time, so I need to try to balance that and like other aspects of my life. So yeah, that's how it is being an adult android in this world. So now that I have this idea, it was funny because I don't know why, I just like looking at other VTubers throne wishlists. So I was just looking through this one VTubers throne wishlist, and I saw this thing on their wishlist. Yeah. What else would it be? That was related to my my interest, and I was just like, what if I do that too? What if I try that? That would be fun to do. And then I just started like brainstorming and planning in my head. I'm just like, okay, now I need to do some research. And then the best place to go to when you need to ask about like gear and tech related stuff is Reddit, of course. So like I was just like researching and like looking at like various like Reddit threads, like, okay, what should I do if I want to get these things for this certain hobby / interest? And I was just like, okay, this is really, really helpful actually. And then I like opened up a Google Doc, and I was just like, okay, let me go make a list and write down what I need to do this specific thing that I'm interested in possibly doing in the future. And I was just like, oh my god. And then like in the back of my head there was a voice in my head saying like, man, I'm really doing this. And it was like talking directly to me like, wow, you're really doing this. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am really doing this. I feel very motivated in doing this thing. It sounds so silly being so like cryptic, I guess, about it, but I don't know. I just want to keep it to myself before I make the first video for that. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk around in circles about this secret project. Oh yeah, hey Joseph. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I stumbled into a Eureka Force reading wrap-up live stream. Yeah, I haven't done that in such a long time. And I just thought I just really needed to get it done. To pull one up. Not pull one up, just do one. But I ended up, I guess, kind of speed running through the live stream. So unfortunately, Joseph, you're catching the tail end of the live stream. But it's fine, because once it ends, you can watch the VOD and hear what I think about all the books that I've read from July to October. And hopefully I'll be more, dang it, what's the term? Consistent. More consistent with my reading wrap-ups after November ends. So I would hopefully do another November wrap-up once December starts. Sometime in early December, hopefully. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of talking about my... It sounds so silly saying like secret project, but I guess it is kind of my like little secret project. I have a lot of projects, video related projects going on, but this one I'm like kind of like throwing it towards the top of what I want to do now list. I'll have to download this. Oh, okay. Thank you. I feel so flattered. Yeah, please let me know if you've read any of the books that I read over these months, how many books did I read? Actually, I'm gonna look at my story list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seven books. So I read 7 books throughout those months. Also, oh yeah, I think I'll probably be reading more manga as well, because there's a lot of like really good manga that I wanted to continue that is available at my local library. So that's really exciting too. Like, I really want to finish, I think, the last volume of, what the heck, what is the, I'm trying to remember the English translated name. The original Japanese name for the manga is Hoseki no Kuni. Dang it, I don't remember. How do I not know? Oh, Land of the Lustrous. Land of the Lustrous is the English translated title, which is also very beautiful. It's a very beautiful translated title. So I'm hoping to read that series soon, because it's one of my favorites. And also Witch Hat Atelier, which is also another beloved series as well. So look out for those reviews soon. I want to read more horror books, and maybe like some sprinklings of romance to be like a palate cleanser in between those. What else? Sci-fi. I've been feeling a mood for sci-fi and fantasy as well. I really want to get into like a more like a high fantasy series, but I feel like I'm a little bit scared, because I'm a little bit scared of like committing my time to books that exist within like a series, especially because fantasy books are just notorious for being super super long, and I am also afraid of long books in general. Any horror or sci-fi authors? I definitely am hoping to read more of like, well, he only has 2 books in his like catalog, but what's his name? I think his name is Luke Dumas. I really want to read his debut book, which is The History of Fear. I'm also interested in his second book as well, which is just called The Paleontologist, I believe. So that's a book I'm interested in probably picking up soon. I remember her last name, but I don't remember her first name, so I'm gonna look up the book right now. Okay, her name, I thought I was wrong. Yeah, also the Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. That's a book that's been on my TBR for a really long time, so I really need to read that soon. It's like a gothic horror novel. It's pretty short too. Actually no, it's like regular length, which is, it's like 320 pages. For sci-fi, I don't have it listed on my currently reading list, but I am reading S.A. Barnes. What's her name? S.A. Barnes' book called Ghost Station. That's also a book that's on my most anticipated list for 2024 books. So that has a bit of a high priority on my list. The ones on my most anticipated list. I also want to try reading other most anticipated books I have from last year. I didn't finish reading all those books yet. What other sci-fi am I feeling? Let's see. I think there's one. Yeah. It's from the Victorian era gothic horror. So I'm very interested in reading that pretty soon. I have a physical copy of it that I got. I don't remember when, like pretty recently, so I don't have to worry about borrowing that from library, which is nice. I think this one is also like a combination of a sci-fi horror, like Ghost Stations, which is just Hum. It's called Hum by Helen Phillips. That one I started pretty recently as well, and how long? I'm only like a few minutes into the audiobook, and I really enjoyed that. I'm really enjoying that so far. Let's see. Would this be considered sci-fi? I think so. I'm looking at this other book that I have from my library, Half-Life. Oops, dang it. Okay. Well, let me just make sure I'm correct. Oh, it's more historical, but it feels kind of sci-fi to me, in my opinion. I'll list it as well. The Half-Life, Valerie K by Natasha Pulley. That one's really interesting. I enjoyed that. Wait, that is on my currently reading list. Whoops. Okay, never mind. You can see that on my story graph as well. What else? Oh man, I really need to finish this. I started it in February of this year, and I still have not finished it. I literally only have about 3 hours of it left, so I need to crack down and finish listening to the audiobook. So this is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. That's a sci-fi horror as well. You'll kind of be noticing a pattern, which is like I like having the mashup of sci-fi and horror together. I feel like it's a very good marriage of genres. I think you could do you could write a lot of interesting stories with that is included within the sci-fi horror mashup. So yeah, that one kind of makes me sad. I guess I'll talk about it too in a later wrap up, which is this was supposed to be like a series, but because initial sales were pretty poor with this book, I guess for some reason the publisher that the author is signed with for this particular book series is not really allowing her to continue to write this for some reason. I need to look at what the actual story is behind this, but I feel like it's kind of sad because this has a lot of potential as being like a really intriguing kind of series, probably like maybe a trilogy, maybe, or a duology. But like I heard the ending is like it's like at least from what I've heard, it seems like it's a pretty unsatisfactory cliffhanger, which really sucks. I really don't like cliffhangers for endings most of the time. There's exceptions, of course, but I'm not looking forward. And maybe that's why I'm like procrastinating on finishing this, because I don't want it to end, even though I've really enjoyed it so far. Anything else? I guess I'll just list stuff that I just need to finish, but it's like already stuff that I'm like currently reading. I really need to finish basically everything that is on my current reads list that I haven't read or finished in a while, but what I'm putting on the high priority list is The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. No, excuse me. I'm pretty close to finishing that. I'm like 60%. And that's like, it's considered like a classic within like the horror genre. So, yeah. Whoa, wait, let me not say that. Let me wait until the video where I specifically want to like talk about this book in particular. But yeah, I was inspired by something to read this book, and yeah, I'm really surprised it's not, at least for people who I follow who also read horror, it's like kind of underrated. I don't really like using that term much, but it does feel like an underrated short story collection, horror short story collection. So yeah, it's like a mixed bag. There were some stories I enjoyed and some I didn't, but I think this is a really good, I think overall it's still a very good book to read if you're like a horror fan in general. Let's see, what else? Try to think. What else? I guess that's about it for now. Oh, well, I only started like a few, like really short minutes into the book. Yeah, I think I would even though I felt there were some stories I didn't really like, I still feel like it's really good for horror fans to read, because I think a lot of like horror related franchises, especially like let me think, which there's been some games that have been inspired by this. I think Darkest Dungeon, actually, which is one of my favorite games, has some sort of King in Yellow reference, but I might be wrong. It's mostly, most of the inspiration for that game comes from, who is that guy again? H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, his stories, but there's also other influences as well. What was it? I think one of my favorite podcasts was also inspired by this book. I think it's I really need to continue listening to that. Malevolent. Let me go and see. I'm opening up my Spotify. Let's see. Spotify podcasts. Malevolent by Harlan Guthrie. Yeah, I think it's pretty incredible that it's all done by one guy. Like, I thought it was at least two people like working together, because I feel like that's like better to just work in, like, even if it's just a tiny little team of two people. But this guy created everything from what I can tell. He did the writing, he did the voice acting. I'm not sure about the sound effects. Maybe he like sourced that from something else, but I feel like some of the sound effects he also made by himself, which is pretty incredible. That's I don't know why he decided to take on this I guess it would be considered a passion project, like a successful passion project by himself, but like it's really good. It's definitely one of my favorite horror podcasts that I would recommend as well. I think there are definitely some King in Yellow references. I don't remember when. I think somewhere in the beginning there's some kind of reference to the king himself, but yeah, I highly recommend. I need to catch up. I need to catch up with that show. What else? I feel like there's a couple more. Frankenstein is a classic I need to finish, but I haven't read that since 2022, which is bad. I need to finish that. I guess it's because I just don't. It's also kind of similar to how I feel with Into the Drowning Deep. I don't want it to end, but for also different reasons, because Mary Shelley is an incredible writer, author, so I guess if I want to read her other stuff, I can read her lesser known books too. This is not sci-fi or horror related, but I really need to finish this book, which is The Scum Villain's Self-Saving System, which is a Dan May book. I need to finish that, but I keep on slacking, of course, with that book. But I'm so close. I think I just need to finish 2 more chapters, and then it's just a bunch of like extra stuff, talking about like because it's like taken from like Chinese oh my gosh, my voice. Geez, sorry. Like 仙侠武侠 like shows and like novels and stuff. There's like a lot of like cultural significance, which I really appreciate for the translation notes and stuff. So I like that. I'm really interested in reading. I mean, I always am really interested in reading like the translated notes for translated works in general. Let's see. Anything else? I'm in the middle of reading. I think I talked about pretty much almost everything. Oh man, I went on a, oh my goodness. I went off track. I was trying to talk about one of the Neill horror books that came out recently. Wait, is it horror? Why is it? It's more of like, it's labeled as thriller or fantasy? Wait, let me look it up. It Will Only Hurt for a Moment by Delilah S. Dawson. Okay, so on Storygraph it's labeled as fiction horror. So let me check on Goodreads and see what it's labeled as. That's really interesting. Yeah, my library has it labeled as just fiction, literature, fantasy, thriller, but I don't think that's right. Let's see what Goodreads says. Horror, mystery, thriller, gothic, adult, fiction, mystery, thriller. Yeah, I got it. I was interested in checking that out because I was like, oh, I'm kind of in the mood for like a modern gothic book. So this is set in like oh my gosh, excuse me. This is set in like the modern day, but it's like yeah, it's supposed to be like a modern day gothic book. But my library my library hold for that expired, so now I just requested for it on my holds list. So I need to wait about like 6 weeks until I can read this book again. Let's see. These are also not really horror related, but I'll just list them anyways. Love and Other Conspiracies. I'm really slogging through that book, if I have to be honest. I really want to get it done. I'm pretty close to getting that book done because I'm at 67%. So yeah. And then the other one is a fantasy novella, which is The Dead Cat Tail Assassins by P. Jelly Clark. I hope I'm saying his name right. That one is pretty nice too. Really short, really, but I'm also just procrastinating on my reading in general. But yeah, that's about it for reading stuff. But yeah, I'm very excited to see get started in that one video project. There's gonna be like multiple layers for that project, so yeah, it will, hopefully I don't have to do too much editing. So I want it to be more like simple editing. It's just like cuts between footage, maybe some captions here and there as well for just audio stuff, for just audio only parts. But yeah, we will see. I'm very excited for that. I'm really sorry, I keep saying excited, but I really am super excited to start that series. I need to remember to put down the title so I don't forget what the title of it is, because I just like making titles for my various silly but also not silly video projects. So let me open up a Google Doc for that so I don't forget. now I won't forget. Because I wrote it down. Let's see. Anything else? I'm not sure. Maybe I might stream later, but my throat is kind of giving out a little bit, as you may be hearing at the moment too. So we will see. I'll try to drink a lot more liquids, to soothe my throat. But yeah, I think that will be all for now. Thank you so much for anybody who tuned in for the stream. And thank you for hearing my rambles and opinions about books and other such media that I talked about here. But yeah, I hope you all have a good rest of your day or night, wherever you may be in this big world. Eureka for whoa. Let me try that again. Oh gosh, my mind is blanking. Wait, give me a second. IDO Unit 01, Eureka Forsyth, signing off. Bye bye.